What's up everybody, it's your boy Matt Turner back again with another video. Today I have something that you guys have been waiting for. I've been saying I'm going to do it for quite some time now, and that is my video on gender therapy. I'll be answering a few different questions in this, specifically like how I picked my gender therapist. If you need to go to gender therapy, don't quote me on that one. I might or might not do that one. I probably will though, and a ton of other things. So without further ado, let's get into it. So right off the bat, obviously if you are watching this video, you are probably wondering, hey, do I need a gender therapist? Personally, me, myself, and I, Matt Turner, I believe that this answer is a lot more complicated than what a lot of other people think. Some people will say, yes, of course you need gender therapy. Some people will say no. I personally believe that it depends on the person. So in this situation, for example, me, I personally don't think that gender therapy was good for me. I didn't have therapy before I came out as trans or realized I was trans. I didn't go to therapy after that. I didn't start therapy until I got on testosterone. And it was not because I was trans. It was because I wanted someone to talk to about other things in life. I felt that I had a handle on like transitioning and everything like that, and I wanted someone who can be, I've said this before, an unbiased kind of reviewer of how I am processing information, if I'm more grumpy on certain weeks, if I'm like, hey, because they do say that sometimes testosterone can have some mental changes for people. So I just wanted somebody who can be like, hey, you're feeling like a little bit more like this, you're sounding a little bit more like that. But so far I've been completely the same, honestly. I was never a really big person. I'm not like an angry person. I've always had a pretty tame, patient personality. But yes, one other thing that you need to know about whether or not if gender therapy is good for you, and I say this in every single one of my videos, if you are planning to transition and you want to use insurance, you need to know whether your insurance requires that you be going to therapy, or else you'll end up in a situation like mine where I am currently trying to get top surgery and I'm having to pay almost $15,000 out of pocket, when if I knew that my insurance required me to go to therapy for 12 continuous months with the same therapist, I would be only paying $1,500. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that's so fun. So yes, please double check with your insurance if you have insurance, if they require therapy, and also and double check with yourself if you think you need therapy. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think everybody goes through life, and I don't believe that just because you say no at one point doesn't mean that later on in life you can't say, hey, yeah, you know what, I do probably need therapy. Because just like you take care of your body, working out, you take care of your emotional state, talking to other therapists about that, you also need to take care of your mental state. And does that make sense? Body, working out, mental. You know what I mean. But yes, on to the next point. So, the next thing that you'll want to do is, if you are trying to go through insurance, then you need to figure out basically who your insurance requires that you be diagnosed by. My insurance specifically says psychotherapist. So yeah, I had to figure out what that meant, and I called them and I was like, do you have any requirements? Like, is it a specific person? They were just like, no, just like a therapist. But just so you know, there are a ton of people who can diagnose gender dysphoria, which is what you will most likely end up having to be diagnosed by your insurance in order to get anything covered. So that can be a host of people. Let me just read it off for you. Anybody who is a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a psychologist. I think my therapist is a psychologist. I don't know, to be completely honest. I'm pretty sure she is. And you can literally just guys, Google licenses that can therapists that can diagnose gender dysphoria, and just double check, because I may not be right, and you should always double check what anybody else tells you, and learn it for yourself. But yeah, obviously also make sure that your therapist is in network, because that wouldn't make a lot of sense to go to a therapist that's out of network when you're trying to have insurance cover things. So yeah, when I picked my therapist, I created a list, which is something that you're going to want to do when you are trying to decide on anybody that you're going to be seeing for health reasons, whether they're a doctor, a dentist, a therapist. You should just always kind of make a list of preferred characteristics, traits, whatever else, like if they're specialized in anything, just make a list of those things so that you can check them off when you are going through a list. So specifically for me, when I was picking my therapist, I used psychologytoday.com because that was the easiest and the most populated one. So for me, the person being like a specialized gender dysphoria transgender therapist was not very important to me. I did want them to be, kind of LGBTQ plus allied, but it didn't have to be the forefront of their work, The other thing that I really needed with my therapist was that I knew that I wanted someone who was going to be Black, because being Black and how I live my life and the struggles that I go through on a day-to-day being Black was also something that I knew was more likely to come up in my life than being trans. So I needed someone who was going to be able to understand my struggles and my perspectives in a way that I would. And then secondly, and this one having to do with more kind of like me being trans, was that I actually needed someone who was a woman or identified as a female, whichever one of those, whether they were cis or not. I needed that person to be a woman. And that's because I knew deep down inside, as much as I would love to say that I can open up to any person and just be as vulnerable as possible with a stranger, I knew that if I went to go see a therapist that was a man, I would be too hyper focused on whether he saw me as a man and whether I'd pass to him, or if he could see kind of like how I was different and other things like that, for me to really get to the point where I can be vulnerable and talk about the struggles both at being trans and Black and a host of other things. So even you can literally get down to the nitty gritty, most basic thing about the person that you want. The other thing that I really focused on was the cost. I wanted somebody who was going to be on a sliding scale. I wanted somebody who was going to be in network, which was really good that she was both. She was in network and she was on a sliding scale. So that I knew that if for whatever reason, if I lost insurance, I would probably be spending too much. If I kept insurance, I'd only have to pay the copay. So those, just think about those things when you are looking through different websites, trying to find somebody who you want to go through therapy with. And also, don't be afraid when you get to your consultation to really question them and get a vibe of kind of like their therapy style. Finding a therapist is much like finding someone you're gonna like date, I guess. You gotta be really compatible. You gotta be able to communicate with that person, whether it's about, you know, jobs or about your girlfriend, and you just got to be able to talk to that person and for that person to understand. I don't think there'd be anything harder than me going to therapy with somebody that doesn't understand how I communicate, especially since understanding how somebody communicates is literally their job. So really get a feel for that person. Don't just look through the bio and see the different things that they're checked off. They're a licensed this, they've worked with these people. Really actually look through their bio, because a lot of therapists, psychologists, when they put themselves out on the internet at places like Psychology Today, will tell you about the kind of patients that they want to work with. And that's really important to kind of, you know, like pay attention to. So yeah, some places that you can actually go and find therapists. Of course, I'm not going to just leave you with kind of these tips and not tell you where you can find therapists. I use, like I've been saying, psychologytoday.com. Another place is goodtherapy.com. Well, actually, my bad, goodtherapy.org. Literally, you can just look on Google, type in gender therapist, and you'll probably find a local therapist in your city or town or state. I don't know where you are. Maybe you're floating around in the inner dimensions of the world. I don't know. But you can literally just kind of like find local people. It's really not that hard. But yeah. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope that it did help you in kind of deciding whether you need a therapist or not. I do believe that everybody should take care of their mental health, regardless of whether it has to do with being trans or not. I'm a big promoter of that, as you can tell. If you did like this video, as usual, please give it a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Let them understand some of the things that they should probably do when looking for a therapist. What's a good question? I haven't done a question in a while. I'll have to get back to you guys on that. Maybe I'll just like bloop it up in the middle of here somewhere. But as always, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you can stay up to date on when I post videos. And as usual, guys, it is your boy, Matt Turner, out. I hope wherever you are that you have a great day or night or evening, and I will see you guys next time.